As well as being named in the Australian squad, Lake Macquarie bowler Sam Lagutza will join Cameron Curtis from the Coffs Harbour Club of Park Beach in a five-a-side Super League competition to be played at Moama from the 18th to the 22nd of April. Both will be hoping to find form at this inaugural national challenge, as it's from there the Australian side for the Commonwealth Games in Canada will be announced. The pair has also been selected in the New South Wales team to play a fours interstate test against Victoria in late April in Sydney. Other northern New South Wales bowlers to make the Blues side include George Dawes, David Buttery and Michael Burgess, plus Maitland's Wayne Lambourne and Dennis Dalton. As a warm-up to the April 26 test, Victoria will play a New South Wales reserves team, while the Blues state team will have a role against a selected side. Again, a number of local bowlers have featured in these teams. "12 months after taking up the winter sport of luge, Roger White is an Olympian, and few things beat that.
It feels really good. It was a great experience, and one of the aspects of it that I really enjoyed was getting to know the other Olympians.
Back home in Lake Macquarie today, Roger was acclimatising to the somewhat warmer weather and sharing his Winter Olympics mementos with wife Linda. One thing he'll never forget is how he came unstuck, falling off his sled in the last of 4 runs.
I just went into mental meltdown, I guess. I was the last slider down the mountain, and the ceremonies were not long going to begin after I got to the bottom.
White finished 32nd out of 33, but being a newcomer in the luge, he says in no way was he intimidated by the other more experienced competitors. The thrill has whet White's appetite. Already he's looking to next season. To help improve his form, White intends building a starting ramp in his backyard, and out on the street, his neighbours will be seeing a lot more of him.
I'd like to do that and throw a few witches' hats down Burwood Street at Cohiba and, whiz in and out just to practice a little bit.
Northern New South Wales began the game strongly. Within minutes, striker Dean Adamson was in the clear for this shot at goal. Moments later, winger Brett Eldridge beat a couple of Singapore players to put this cross into the goal mouth. Eldridge made another attack down the wing. This time, Dean Adamson headed for goal. It was a sobering start for the Singaporeans, who had a vocal group of supporters among the crowd of more than 100 at Mitre 10 Stadium. The visitors were kicked into gear and started to pound the Northern New South Wales goal with numerous sweeping counter-attacks. Singapore's attacking midfielder Fandi Ahmed is a legend in his country. He was unlucky not to be awarded a penalty after this skillful run in the goal box. The pressure continued from the visitors with these shots by strikers Lee Man Hon and Mikhail Varna, and a bullet from Fandi Ahmed. Midway through the second half, the deadlock was broken in sensational style. Fullback Malek Awab made a 1-2 pass, then crossed the ball. Ahmed dummied, and Abbas Saad slotted the ball perfectly into the bottom right hand of the goal. The Asian team will travel north to play Coffs Harbour tomorrow night in the last game of its Australian tour. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News.
Advance Housing has contracts with 31 customers for houses at various stages of completion, and 66 other people either awaiting building approval or with dwellings not yet begun. Mr. Lloyd says he's negotiating with several parties interested in purchasing the Advance company as a going concern. Any new owner might agree to complete all these contracts, or the customer could make claims through the Building Services Corporation insurance scheme to have the work done. Either way, the administrator is confident the work will be done without financial loss to the homeowners. Unsecured creditors of the Advance Group are owed nearly $2 million, with the sole secured creditor, believed to be the State Bank, being owed $400,000. Some of them had never picked up a stick, others had represented their region, but all had one common goal, trying to improve their game. The 5 to 15-year-olds from Newcastle and the Upper Hunter were joined by players from as far as Taree and the Central Coast. The annual clinic aims to recruit new players to the game and keep the interest of current players.
But it's still very difficult because we rely on schools to provide the base, I suppose, and because it's such a complex game, that's sometimes more difficult than other sports. So these sorts of days are really what it's all about, trying to get kids into our sport.
They dribble and hit their way through 7 hours of practice in readiness for a game at the end of the day.
Well, they're learning all the basic skills that are required for hockey, and then we finish off with a game where they try and put those together. So we go through the hitting and the pushing and the receiving and travelling with the ball, tackling, all of the skills that they'll need to play.
The coaches themselves are also learning new skills, the 14 to 18-year-olds drawn from the Hunter Academy of Sport. There will be more hockey at Newcastle's International Hockey Centre tomorrow morning, with the Hunter women playing Eastern Districts from 11 o'clock. Richard O'Leary, NBN News. Glamour club Marconi lived up to its reputation early, going to a 1-0 lead. Minutes later and the Breakers trailed 2-0. But with the help of some good fortune, the Breakers fought back. But no luck was needed for the next one, a well-timed header by Warren Spink tying the game. Marconi needed to win to stay in the top 3, but Breakers keeper Clint Gosling refused to give in to the firepower of the visitors. The game ending a 2-2 draw. The celebrity match earlier in the night between Newcastle's media and the city's jockeys ended in farce. NBN's Ray Deneen came to the wrong match, whereas Mike Rubit hit the turf more times than he kicked the ball. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
On November 13 last year, Superintendent Ian Cleary arrested Udo Fries after an incident on board the South Stane floating restaurant. The charge against Mr Fries was subsequently dropped and he's received an official apology from the police service. Member for Charlestown Richard Face told State Parliament on Thursday night that Superintendent Cleary's wife Elizabeth says that as the events of 13 November last year started to unfold, she became convinced that there was a major conspiracy to attack her husband's credibility and reduce him to ridicule to ensure that brothel keepers continued to flourish in Newcastle. The manager of Newcastle's Zara Street brothel, Liz, has denied the conspiracy allegations. Udo Fries was interstate today, but his wife Rosemary was equally upset, denying the incident on the South Stane had been part of a conspiracy against Superintendent Cleary.
Well, I'm just absolutely shocked. I just find the whole thing outrageous. Ours was just a minor incident that should never have occurred, and I just can't see how they can blow it up to these extremes.
Richard Face has referred the matter to the ICAC, but he's also put 9 questions to Police Minister Griffiths. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
Gosford Council hosted the city's biggest barbecue at the racecourse to say thank you to all involved in fighting the bushfires. The Central Coast was one of the worst hit areas, and Premier Fay congratulated all for a job well done. It was a day which brought together residents, firefighters, support groups and families affected by the fires. The Premier praised the efforts of all involved, saying it was a clear indication of the community spirit of Australians.
The alert Minnie Reid celebrated in fine form with family, friends and, of course, a cake. She has outlived 2 husbands. The second one she married at the age of 102. Even at 105, she has no shortage of male admirers. Minnie is somewhat of a local celebrity, appearing often in the newspaper, as well as having a place in the Guinness Book of Records. She says that her secret to a long and healthy life is simple and offers this advice.
Well, I used to get up in the morning and kiss me flowers. And then at night time I'd have a glass of wine. That's the secret.
Good girl.
When you get the right end of it, yeah, that's what you want. Time now. It's 2, I think.
When the guns were first mounted in 1915, Fort Wallace was armed, ready to defend any northern approaches to the port of Newcastle during 2 world wars. Most of these ex-servicemen were part of the Coastal Artillery Unit based at the fort. For the past 7 years, they've spent countless hours helping to restore the site's historic facilities.
All the gun pits was filled with sand, the OPs were smashed, the windows were smashed, the plotting room was vandalised, and we started from scratch.
The fort has just been included on the Australian Heritage Commission's interim list, but the government has informed the men if they want to continue their voluntary work, they'll have to abide by a licensing agreement which includes a liability clause.
They want us to take out $10 million insurance, and not only that, they want the responsibility not only for us 11 but to go on to our heirs and executors, and that's just beyond belief.
Refusing to sign the agreement, the group has been locked out since November. While the matter is before Defence Minister Senator Ray, the group holds grave fears for the site's preservation.
Vandalised and go back to the ruin that we found when we first came here.
We have done 7 years of work here with 7,000 man-hours of work, and it's all gone down the drain. So it's a wasted exercise.
You won't see him driving on the open road, he's not old enough. But put him on the racetrack and you can't help but notice him. 15-year-old Ben Morley is one of hill climb's biggest and youngest stars, but that took some convincing. The sport's governing body, CAMS, had set a minimum competition age of 17. But after getting 93% in an advanced racing driver course at Oran Park, CAMS allowed Ben to enter the New South Wales Hill Climb Series. In one round at Amaroo Park, he finished first in his class and second outright. Ben is a chip off the old block, his father Brian having won many off-road titles, including the 87 Bridgestone International at Kempsey. So you can see where Ben gets his passion for pace.
Then you take off and it feels like you're in a jet taking off a runway. Over the top of the hill at Amaroo, it's sort of, you can't see where you're going for the next corner and you're sliding to the next corner and yeah, it just gets your blood pumping, yeah.
Some people would say you're almost crazy, putting yourself...
What makes his meteoric rise even more amazing is that the naturally talented surfer has achieved his success with little effort.
Yeah, I changed a lot. Before that I was pretty laid back and lazy and everybody used to tell me that. Then I thought, oh well, I must be if everybody's telling me. So then I decided to do a bit of training and swimming and everything, and it paid off.
Out of the surf, Powell is so laid back that he is almost comatose. But just add water and a surfboard and he explodes. It's this dynamic style that has many pundits predicting Powell could be world champion by the end of this year.
Hopefully I should do pretty well. I think. Well, I finished, my best result last year was 9th, and so I'm hoping to finish in the top 5 this year to better that placing. So I've been training a bit in that, so hopefully it should go well.
And Surfist is set to provide the perfect indicator of how motivated and how far Powell will go in 1994. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News.
Mabo has been one of the most widely discussed topics in Australia and for many years was more than a passing interest for Sydney lawyer Sean Flood, who in the 70s worked with the Aboriginal Legal Service. Following the High Court's judgment, Flood wrote a book, Mabo, A Symbol of Sharing. Now approved as a resource book for state school teachers, it examines the 1993 native title legislation.
I think that there should have been a veto given to the Aboriginal traditional owners so that they could veto development and mining.
Sean's friend, artist David Boyd, was inspired by the book, so much so that while in the middle of creating his latest exhibition called Metaphors of Trial, Boyd dedicated one piece, The Waterfall, to Mabo.
You see the shape of the black one coming up against the one hand against the red robe of the judge shape, and the other against the light, or against the light with the waterfall coming down, struggling up against this.
Boyd's work, including the waterfall, is currently on exhibition at Von Berto Galleries.
Meet Cherie Schaefer and Robin Phillips, two of the hardest competitors in Australian leader car racing. Travelling at speeds of up to 160 kilometres an hour around a confined dirt course is a touch more exhilarating than netball, according to the pair, and 1,000,000 times more exciting than aerobics, despite its dangers.
I've had several rollovers, one 12 feet in the air, another one I hit a wall at 150 k's, but it certainly doesn't deter me, it just spurs me on even more.
Cherie and Robin will be among 40 drivers from Queensland and New South Wales battling it out for the state title on Saturday night. Another favourite is last year's winner George Winder from Sydney, who also holds the petite pair in awe.
Well, they certainly are hot shot. They're pretty quick girls. Don't worry about them being girls. They're pretty quick. Kerry Schaefer's very quick. She got a good car, and they'll be competitive. Don't you worry.
The Terrible Two do most of their own mechanical work on the machines. Cherie, who is a welder by trade, built her leader sprint car by herself.
The one that I'm racing now, I originally built that myself, but it's, as I said, it's been through a few write-offs and it's had a few changes since then, and I'm actually looking in the near future to build the next one.
But a lot of people would say you two might be more suited to the catwalk as opposed to the motordrome. What would you say to them?
Well, why should women just stick to looking nice all the time? Why can't we have a bit of fun as well?
The phone-in began this morning at 10 o'clock with police eager for information on a range of crimes.
Most of the calls we've received are on drug matters, which is encouraging. We're hoping for some more calls on maybe breaking in suspects or stealings in the Moree patrol.
Constable Donna Van Hoven is one of 2 Sydney officers who've been travelling throughout the New England and North West pushing the Crime Stoppers message. All phone calls are confidential and the informant can remain anonymous. There's also a reward of up to $1,000 if an arrest is made as a result of information received. The line into Moree is open until 8 o'clock tonight. Further information can be given on 008 025 122.
The official opening of Maitland High School's refurbished industrial arts complex formed the backdrop for Education Minister Virginia Chadwick to defend the necessity of composite classes.
Those schools I'm very proud of. They're working hard, doing a good job, and I don't like them being referred to as educational slums, and I totally reject that.
Mrs Chadwick was responding to a recent survey carried out by the opposition party critical of the number and size of composite classes across the state. The government claims the report stated there are growing problems associated with the scheme and that some students are being educationally disadvantaged.
There is any amount of international research which shows that those mixed groupings, if for educational benefit, can in fact be a positive rather than a negative, and there is no research to show that children suffer in a composite class.
Newcastle East Public, one of the country's oldest schools, has 75 students and 3 composite classes. According to the Minister, the school, along with 750 others across the state, would close if the opposition remove the scheme.
I give an absolute assurance that schools such as Newcastle East, that is sitting somewhere between 70 and 80 students now, it most certainly may be on Mr Carr's hit list, but it's not on mine.
Melinda Smith, NBN News. The Hunter Institute of Technology building, which has undergone a $180,000 facelift, is located in Erina Street, Gosford. Carrying out the honours of officially opening the refurbished premises was local member and Environment Minister Chris Harcher.
And I think the works have been carried out very well, within budget and within quite a short time.
Looking on at the proceedings were students who've signed up to study all aspects of business services.
Where does this go in here? That goes amount of profit, Chair.
The Minister was invited on a tour of the building, which features 9 classrooms and 6 offices, 10 full-time teachers and around 350 full and part-time students will be attending classes during the day and night.
Seven, 3 and 2. Star of Maple paid $22.20 and $5.90. And I'm not even going to try and pronounce second. March Hare was third. The trifecta just over $520. From Moonee Valley, our feature race is the Stanley Wootton Stakes. Ken Vane paid $4.30 and $1.80. The Quinella $21 even, and the trifecta $264.60. Feature race from Newcastle is the Multi-Pest Handicap. Maryvale Lad, the winner, it paid $7.60 and $2.60. The trifecta, $381.70. And don't forget Gary Harley's tip tonight in race 1 at the Newcastle Trots, Bosun's Mate.
A yellow tarpaulin dragged into place by police covered the teenager's body. The girl, thought to be around 13, was spotted by truck drivers making a delivery to the village of Awabba on the outskirts of Toronto just before 8 this morning. Police suspect the girl's fully clothed body may have been dumped from a car. A search of the scene discovered tyre tracks but turned up few other clues on the cause of the girl's death.
Appears to be a young female. There doesn't appear to be any visible injuries on the body.
Police say the body was probably dumped during the night but have so far been unsuccessful in their efforts to identify the teenager.
That's where our main inquiries will be centred around identifying the body at this stage.
A door knock of nearby homes and a check of the missing persons file also gave police little more to work with. A post-mortem examination was conducted in Newcastle late this afternoon. Further pathology tests will be needed before police can establish a cause of death. In the meantime, they're asking for help in identifying the teenager. She's described as 160 centimetres tall with brown red tinted shoulder-length hair. She was found wearing a black knitted sleeveless top and grey full-length bicycle pants. Andrew Lobb, NBN News.
Butler's Love led the field until the last 400 and then dropped away sharply. The horse is from the leading Chris Gleeson stable in Sydney and will have to retrial before it's allowed to race again. No worries though for 10-year-old Tiffo, who eventually took out the race. 9, 6 and 8 the final placings, the Quinella just over $200 and the trifecta a whopping $1,700.